This is the plaintiff, Keith Gruber. He says the defendant, his younger brother, stole a Marc Chagall painting of their late father's that he was supposed to sell. He has no idea where the valuable painting is now, but he wants his money and is suing his sibling for $5,000 because he out and out stole it. This is the defendant, Jonathan Gruber. He says he and the plaintiff haven't had a relationship in over 30 years, so he's not surprised his brother would drag him into court today. Bottom line, he had the painting appraised. It was deemed a fake and worth nothing. He told his brother he was free to try to sell it to see what he could get, but first he had to return the jewelry he stole when their mom died. Oh, him? Ah! He's accused of pilfering a painting.
All parties, please raise your right hand. Be seated. Come forward, please. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome,
Keith Gruber?
Yes.
You are suing your brother, Jonathan Gruber,
Yes.
for $5,000, the amount that you say you are owed for your third of a portion of a Marc Chagall painting that your brother was in charge of selling and distributing to the three brothers as representative of the estate. You're suing him as representative of the estate. All right. What happened?
He was named executor for my father's estate. My mom had previously passed a couple of years before.
When did your father pass?
February of 2010, February 3rd. And we had a contentious relationship. It was really bad prior to that. I mean, really bad.
Were you on speaking terms?
Not at all.
How long had you not been on speaking terms?
Off and on for, I guess, for like 20 years.
Okay.
And it got to the point where I had gone down because my father had gotten ill in December of 2009, and I went down there to take care of him. And he was
down where?
Down in Florida.
Okay.
And he was put into an assisted living because he was really ill, and I took care of helping him out and doing things for him. And my father had named me his medical proxy, and we had such a contentious relationship between me and my two siblings that they went and contacted Family Services and made claims that I was abusing my father and I should be arrested.
Okay. So there's three boys?
Yes.
Okay, three men. And nobody gets along, or is there...
He gets along with the older one.
Okay. And you are the youngest?
I'm the middle.
You're the middle. All right. Tell me about that claim about contacting the Department of Health and...
I don't know anything about it. That was something, excuse me, that was something that my other brother may or may not have done, so I don't know.
Well, you must have heard about it, because that's pretty...
My father was in an advanced state of cardiac failure. He was dying. And he was lifting him up, taking him out of the hospital in order to do banking things and estate things and to change things.
Carrying
around.
him to the bank?
Yeah, well, putting him into a van, or my father's van.
From his home?
From the assisted living.
From the assisted living?
Taking him out of the assisted living, carrying him to the van, and driving him around in the debilitated state that he was in. That's what I heard.
Was there a doctor that said that he couldn't bank with his son? Because, I mean, I understand. See, here's the thing. Was there money in the estate?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where everything hits the fan. So what happens after that claim? Where did that claim go, by the way?
He was shocked by what they said to him. He said, I'm in an assisted living. What kind of abuse could he be doing to me?
Okay, so did your dad call the older brother and say, what are you doing?
Yes. And he told him, listen, cut this crap out. Excuse me, my French. You know, I don't know what the hell.
French?
I don't know what the heck you guys are doing, but stop with this bull. I'm fine. You know.
All right, let's move on from that and let's talk about what happens then in 2010. Your dad passes away. Yes. And did you know that he had named, you're the middle one, did you know that he had named little brother, the defendant, as the executor of the estate?
Yes.
You did know? Okay.
Yes. The night before.
What do you do for a living?
Right now, I'm not working.
What's your profession?
I worked as I ran wine tours to the East End of Long Island.
Okay, and what do you do for a living?
I'm an attorney.
Are you practicing?
No.
Okay. When did you stop practicing?
2 years ago.
You retired, or?
Semi.
All right, so now the subject of this particular, I assume that there was more involved in this estate than the subject of this lawsuit. correct? Okay.
Correct, Your Honor.
How much money was involved in the estate? Roughly.
Cash-wise, about $130,000.
Okay. There's actually two pieces of art. One of them is the subject of this lawsuit. The other one you plan to take to court on a later day, probably because of the statutory max here. And then, according to you, there is an unresolved matter about some jewelry that we'll talk about in a second. Okay? Is that all that's left on the estate? Because everything else has been divvied up and there's no dispute about everything else. I'm just curious.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, and yes. Okay. Now, your dad passed away in 2010, but in 2011, the three brothers enter into a written stipulation about several things, including a work of art, a Marc Chagall, that no one knew the value of. No one knew if it was real, if it was fake. Did you ever see it with your eyeballs?
Yes.
Okay. What was it?
To me, from what it looked like a charcoal sketching.
Original.
Yes.
That's what it looked like to you?
Yes.
Okay. So you folks entered into an agreement in 2011 to have that thing appraised. Did that happen?
I tried, but no.
How did it not happen?
I went to a appraiser called Swan.
Okay.
And in terms of Swan, they finally took a look and they said, this isn't anything. And they turned it over, which of course I hadn't really thought about. And they said, look, right on the back here is a number, and it's like 42 or something like that. And that's a page number. It's a page number in an art book. This was taken from an art book, ripped out, and framed. So my parents apparently at some point bought a nice book of art that they had this Chagall in there. And they said, oh, this is nice. And they cut it out neatly, and they framed it or had it framed, and they put it on the wall.
According to you, you got this information from an auction house or an art appraiser in 2011.
Yes.
Did you convey that information to your brother pursuant to the stipulation you had all signed to try to keep some peace and get this resolved?
Yes, through the attorneys.
Okay. May I see any evidence of that appraisal?
No, that was just a verbal thing. He said it's worthless.
You're the executor of the estate. You have a piece of property and a very contentious relationship with one of the heirs to the estate. There is a legal written document that says you must get it appraised and sell it, and if you can't, then you must give it to me to get appraised and sell it. That's what the document between you two says,
yes.
Right? So that I can have a chance. And if I can't sell it, then I give it back to you and you keep trying to sell it, right? That's what
yes.
the legal document says. You're a lawyer, right?
Yes.
Okay. Your answer to the court is it was verbal, and where's the piece itself? Is it still here?
No, the piece is, I gave it to him. I don't have it.
That's not what you said in your answer to the complaint. You said, I don't know where the piece is. For all I know, I might have given it to him. I have no idea. Watch this. Did he give it to you?
No.
Okay. So now what we're left with is this. You have a responsibility as the attorney who is in charge of the estate to have some answer to the heirs on what an asset is worth. If the answer from the auction house was, this is garbage, then you ask them to put it in writing and you distribute it to him and his lawyer and everybody else involved. Where is that?
That didn't exist, Your Honor. What I'd like to point out, and you raised a great point here, but I have photocopies of the art that we're talking about.
How do you have a photocopy of the art and not the art?
Exactly. The reason why I have a photocopy of the art was because I knew it had to go away. Either I had to have it appraised and sold off, or I had to give it to him. So I made a photocopy for myself. And on the photocopy...
If you kept the photocopy, why didn't you keep the art? And why didn't you comply with what you had agreed to do, which is if you can't sell it, which apparently that's what you're saying, you couldn't sell it, why didn't you, after the 120 days that you had to sell it, then comply with the agreement, which was to give it to him, for him to try to sell it? Why didn't that happen?
That did happen. I have an email from his attorney to me stating just that.
Let me see the email.
That's it.
You know what I'm looking for, right? Because you're an attorney. You know, so even if you weren't an attorney, you should know what I'm looking for. I'm looking for any evidence of anything that you do no longer have this asset, weren't able to sell it. I'll forgive that you don't get in writing that it's worthless. I'll forgive that part if I can see that you then took the item and complied with the settlement agreement that you have with him and handed it for him to sell. If you can prove to me that that happened, you're in the clear. Is that what that is going to prove?
If you look at the bottom of that page, that's where I discuss that I'm dropping off the art.
Except for you didn't drop it off. Because in your answer to the complaint, you say, I'm going to go to my aunt's house and I will drop off the art for him to sell. And at that time, I expect him to give me either some jewelry from a prior agreement that he didn't give up and distribute fairly, or the money from that jewelry that he didn't give up or distribute fairly. You bring up something that is not in the stipulation, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Then when you get there, he doesn't have the jewelry or the check. So you don't leave him the art. That's what you said in your answer to the complaint.
That's what I thought initially. After looking at this over the past time since I've been...
You decided to change what you said in the answer to a week ago?
No, I understood what happened better. I remembered better. I went through all the documents.
That's great. Can I just tell you something? I don't want to hear your flapping gums anymore. I want some evidence of what happened. You're the executor of the estate, and you have a responsibility to every heir in the estate, including the brother you don't talk to because you don't like him, you know, because he's a jerk or whatever else that you haven't talked to in 20 years, and you've had this contentious relationship. You have, if anything, you should have been extra careful to cross every T and dot every I in this situation.
When I initially took possession...
By the way, you said I was going to see in that email from the lawyer that you gave him the artwork. I didn't, did I? There's nothing in this email that says you gave the artwork, right?
That email says, I am traveling to my aunt's this weekend, and I will be dropping off the art.
You know the difference between past tense and future intent, right? This says, I'm going to do X. You told me already in your answer to the complaint that you didn't do it because you didn't have the jewelry and the money. So this does not acknowledge by a lawyer that you gave the artwork to your brother or the brother's lawyer, does it? Yes or no? Yes or no?
No, that does not say
Now
that.
all I need, my needs are super simple. And if you need me to take a recess, I will. I need proof of what you are talking about. I need proof that the thing isn't worth anything. If I gave you the opportunity, which I shouldn't have to give a lawyer, but I will, because I really want to get at the truth, okay? If I gave you the opportunity with a room and a telephone and a computer, would you be able to get records from these auction houses?
Your Honor, this is the
yes
truth.
Yes or no?
I don't need it. I have it right here.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Harvey Levin here. Why do brothers and sisters fight so much when parents die?
I don't know. I think just in that moment, there's a lot going on emotionally, and so...
Okay, well, do you think it's emotional? Is that why?
I think they want to avoid probate. No, I think that there's a lot of things going on in their heads, whether or not they're the favorite. Why did mom leave you this and not this? Like, who gets the house?
You're getting warm.
I would say rivalry and greed.
Okay, it's sad, but I think everything you guys said is probably true. Going inside the courtroom.
This is the truth right here.
What is that, my dear?
This is a photocopy of the art in question. This photocopy has a date stamp on the back. Why am I making photocopies of something that I'm keeping? Why would I ever do that? I would do that because I'm getting rid of it. I'm giving it to him. I have this because this was a lovely piece of art that my parents had hanging.
You call that evidence that I should hang my hat on? I should look at, hey, Judge, why would I take you should trust me. Why would I take a photocopy of something unless I gave it to that guy? That's your evidence of what you did with an asset of the estate? Do you or do you not want an opportunity? Don't tell me what you think is sufficient, because I am here to tell you that it is not only not sufficient, it is woefully insufficient. Now, if you really got that assessed, they will have a record of it. Do you want an opportunity? Maybe they don't keep records that far back. Maybe they do. Would you like an opportunity?
No, thank you.
No, you wouldn't, would you?
That's funny. Yeah.
No,
you think that's
wouldn't.
hilarious?
It's not. It's pathetic, dishonest, and I am sure that your father is rolling in his grave right now.
Sure.
Verdict for the plaintiff. In my guesstimate, I have to do a guesstimate. So now, let us see, which is virtually, I mean, I'm in this position because the executor of the estate doesn't bother to take his responsibility. You know what? $5,000 verdict for the plaintiff.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Well, there comes the defendant. The executor didn't quite execute. What's your reaction to the outcome here?
This was resolved back in 2011, excuse me, and I'm not going to keep these things forever.
What was it like to be in the courtroom opposite him after such a long time, not seeing him?
I didn't see him then either.
You didn't see him just now
No.
in the courtroom?
No.
Why not?
Why?
Why what?
Why would I look at him?
That's what I'm asking you.
There's no reason to.
Sir, if you would, right, sir.
All right, what's your feeling on this situation?
You know, as I've known all along, the deceptions that, you know, I had to sue him to get my share of my, you know, my father's estate. It cost me, you know, a lot of money to do that. I knew this was going to be like this. And
What was this like for you?
It was hell. I mean, I have no relationship with him, and I have no relationship because of that with my niece, because he won't let me have a relationship with her. And it's hell. It shouldn't be like that. But him and my older sibling, you know, this is how they were, and they tried to take all my dad's money, and I fought them every step of the way.
All right, Harvey.
I got to say, you know, at a point when push comes to shove, when you're at this point, you just got to sue your family member. That'll do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.